This week on Theme Park Workshop, the podcast.
In 1984, Joe Esposito said to Ralph Macchio, "You're the best around. Nothing's ever gonna keep you down." Well, that's really not true about these attractions we're going to talk about today.
And we talk about some of the latest news at Universal. What's going on with Fast and Furious?
Oh, yeah.
All that and more this week on Theme Park Workshop, the podcast. Welcome everyone to the Theme Park Workshop podcast. This week we're going to be talking about, no, we already just did the intro. That was let's try that again.
Well, you know, Jonathan, I think when you record a podcast, time is kind of fluid. It's an abstract concept. What happens first could indeed be the last, and what happens last could actually be in the middle. You never know.
And then let's turn the show now into a Why Back to the Future the Ride should be brought back campaign.
Hey, that might happen one of these days. Who knows?
Absolutely. They can just switch out the Simpsons ride film for a day.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about the ride itself coming back. I was talking about us doing the campaign one day. That might indeed happen.
Oh, yeah. We can lead that.
Yeah.
All right, so today we're actually going to be talking about attractions that we don't like, which is the thing, I said in the intro, and now I've said it again. But before we do that, let's... All right. I hated every second of it. But if you're enjoying the show on episode 5, go ahead and leave us a review on iTunes or on Google Podcasts or wherever you listen. If there's a way to rate the podcast, give it a like, a thumbs up, please go ahead and do that. It really helps the show out as we are trying to get these episodes out for you every single week. And Adam is doing a great job of editing and producing and making them sound amazing. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the new things at the parks. What is new at the parks this week?
Well, I don't know what's new at the parks, but I know we experienced new things at the parks.
This is true. We visited Universal yesterday, which for you listening to the podcast is also yesterday. And I did Storm Force Acceleron for the very first time.
You did. You see, we've been friends for a long time. And had I known in all of our theme parking, you had never ridden the Storm Force Acceleron, that would have happened a lot sooner, my friend. However, I am so glad that this first time was your first time. But what was your experience like? How would you describe the experience? This is a whole new world for you, unless you've ridden the Mad Tea Party. But even then, perhaps there was some variation to this theme of teacup spinner. Jonathan Edward.
It was chaotic. I think chaotic is the best word. Adam's brother was there with us. He lost a water bottle. I think it went flying. Some old lady was judging us, according to Adam. I was flying around the teacup, slamming into everybody. It was wild. We were spinning so fast we couldn't spin the teacup, and
that's true. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, we were all three trying to spin it. We couldn't spin it because it was moving so fast.
I think maybe the ride op, and I don't know if this is within a ride op's power. I don't know how this ride works, to be quite honest with you. It's the most popular flat ride. I know nothing of its inner machinations. It's an enigma. But maybe the ride op saw how delirious we were about 1 minute into this ride and said, cut off.
He has the rambunctious button. If anybody's being rambunctious, he pushes it. And it stops the rambunctiosity.
Yeah, but God only knows where that water bottle went, because I sure don't. We didn't even see it on the track. We didn't see it in the cup. No one said, "Hey, fools, here's your water bottle. Come on. Water's a luxury in some parts of the world. What are you doing throwing it out of a cup?"
I think he's making a reference. I don't understand. But yeah, that was...
reference. That is just me. For once, your instinct was... I don't know.
Wrong.
I guess. But then that sounded really rude. I thought it was supposed to be a compliment, and then as I said it, things were going south.
So, speaking of going south, we rode Race to New York starring Jimmy Fallon, but we did the studio tour, which was really good.
Yes.
Yeah, when I say going south, I'm talking about the part of the ride where you dive underwater, and because south is down.
Yes.
Yeah.
In some ways, yeah. I see. You threw me off because I know you like the ride. I'm like, wait a minute. Is my whole life a lie? But yes, we did the studio tour. So if you don't know, if you're listening to this and you're like, what's the studio tour? Is that like when you go in a tram and you see King Kong and Fast and Furious? Yes, but wrong park. Um, the Fallon studio tour is one of the like free, every now and again you get lucky, backstage peaks that you get at Universal Studios Florida. You got the studio tour at Fallon. You go through 30 Rock, quote unquote 30 Rock, and we'll go into that in a minute. The Revenge of the Mummy, sometimes you get a backstage tour if you ask, hey, are you doing the backstage tour? Not always, but sometimes they do oblige. And then there's the Men in Black Alien Attack immigration tour where you go through the, I think it's called the Immigration Room.
Yeah.
Still haven't done that, but that's a very popular one. Are there any other attractions that do that, Jonathan?
I think that's it. I think did you mention Kong?
No, I didn't know Kong did.
Yeah, there is a Kong tour.
Interesting. I
Which
wonder
we
what they
did
could
not
do
to prepare for our video.
No, well, I didn't know this was even a thing that I was ever going to experience. So I mean, to go into the experience, and Jonathan, feel free to jump in whenever. We walked up, and Jonathan knew about this somehow. I don't know if he read Seth Kaburski's The Unofficial Guides 2021. Maybe it's in there. Still got to read it, but I'm very much looking forward to my time with it. And he said, "Hey, you doing the studio tour? Could we do the studio tour, please, if you're offering it?" And the folks at the front looked at each other, said, "Yeah, I did it." And the inside of the studio, or like the inside of the queue, walked us through the history of the Tonight Show and the history of the NBC logos, which I found really fascinating, in that first hallway. And we even got to meet hashtag the Panda backstage. Got a little peek inside the control room. Not too long of a peek, but enough that was really, really cool. And I think I know my favorite part of it, I don't know about you, was hanging out on the Fallon Key. I think that's what they call it. The Falcony, the Falcony.
The Fallon Alchemy.
The balcony on top of Fallon. Which looks over the Hollywood. No, it's not called the Hollywood Bowl. It's the Studio Plaza.
Yeah,
the Music Plaza. That's what it is. And you can see Rip Ride Rockit from a higher altitude. It was really cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad we did it.
It's nice. I could look at the place where I like to take a nap.
Yes, the plaza.
The Music Plaza.
I don't understand that, but I'm glad you have good experiences, Jonathan.
All right, so after that, there wasn't a whole lot else new we did. We did Antojitos for the first time at City Walk, which was excellent.
Very
But
tasty.
there's also something else new coming to Universal. Fast and Furious Supercharged is getting some updates. Now, there's been some rumors that these updates might be perhaps more than cosmetic, with some people saying that the ride footage is going to be replaced. Some people saying 3D will finally be brought back. Some people saying they'll be finally cleaning the Musion screens that kind of look unspeakable at this point. But what is your take? What would you like to see happen to your most beloved attraction, Adam?
Well, maybe at one point it was, but just time. We went our separate ways for a little bit. I am looking forward to seeing what this update brings, and I think that's kind of the excitement here. So this update is happening between November 8th and November 11th. Actually, now that I think about it, this update will be done by the time this podcast goes live. So this is kind of our mystery theater here, trying to figure out what this is going to be. I honestly don't know, because the turnaround time is really short. It doesn't sound like the cast has come together to do a new footage, which I think trying to rewrite the story would be cool. It'd be interesting. I think it would breathe a second life into this attraction that's only 3 years old or something. Kind of ironic, but whatever it takes,
Presenting the James Wan cut of Fast and Furious Supercharged.
Oh yeah, he did Furious 7. That's right. That could be interesting. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like a total override of the storyline unless they subtract, which it could use a little bit of subtraction. I know they've tried to plus it up with Ludacris and oh shoot, I'm forgetting her name right now. But she plays Dom's sister in the movies, Vin Diesel's character's sister. They added them to the ride and to the pre-shows rather, and it doesn't quite excite you, I think, the way it's supposed to. But
Would getting rid of Supercharged be addition by subtraction?
for some people, um, using you as my source, apparently the approval rates at the park go down for everyone who experiences this attraction,
It's true.
which I can believe, even though in some cases I do enjoy my time with it. But I thought we might have lost it, or it would have gotten updated when it shut down during the pandemic, which was a really like weird thing. It's such a new attraction. It was open during Horror Nights in 2019, which means it's a high profile attraction, but it just obviously has not connected with anyone. Not really. And I thought that would have been the time we lost it, or something happened and it didn't. So I am curious to see what goes down with it.
I think corporate has too much invested in it. I think the issue is that it's one of Universal's biggest franchises that they don't have to pay any money to license, and there's new films in the works. So it's like, why would you get rid of an attraction for a franchise that's still actively churning out movies with the stars who are in the attraction? And I think that's why they're at least until Fast and Furious is in the rearview mirror for Universal, they're gonna have to just figure out how to fix the ride. I don't think it's gonna go away. Can you think of a ride that has been shut down while the franchise was still relevant, making new content?
Most of this comes so late, but I guess, well, no, Shrek didn't shut down. Shrek opened in the middle of everything. Jimmy Neutron, Nicktoon Blast, all those shows were still on. Jimmy Neutron wasn't on, but Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob, those still go strong. Not so much Rugrats. Rugrats had kind of died off by the time I was riding the ride.
It's already been rebooted.
Oh, it has been rebooted?
Yeah, there's a 3D CGI reboot on Paramount Plus.
No, I can't think of any ride that had shut down based on IP when the IP was still at large. Because Stitch wasn't really churning out new stuff when Great Escape closed.
No.
Bug's Life is, no one talks about Bug's Life except for kids from the 90s. That's about it. So like Bugs Land closing, what these rides do based on IP, they're there to support the IP even when the IP kind of dies off.
Right.
I guess the closest thing I can think of honestly is Disney Quest, because towards the end of its life, they tried to work Wreck-It Ralph in there without overhauling anything. But Ralph 2 hadn't come out yet, but when it got demolished.
Makes sense.
So
yeah, because they added all the Fix-It Felix Jr. games. I remember that.
And the Ralph statue, I think, too.
Yeah.
Of course, by that point, it just became clear Disney was not sure what to do with the space without investing into the space. So, I mean, I guess that is a very loose count.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of these kind of outlive their property. And like in the case of Shrek, like there's been no really new Shrek thing since like Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
And there's the Puss in Boots like Netflix shows, but I guess kids watch it.
So far from the original.
I know.
Like it's like a sequel TV series to a spin-off movie. It's like of a character from the sequel.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that's kind of my interesting thoughts on why I think Fast and Furious is going to stay, is because Daddy Moneybags says support the franchise, support the family
forever. But yeah, whether it's a CG update, it could use that, or the 3D update, which that might fix a lot for guests. I don't know. I think
I'd say so.
I hope to. I still want to come to the parks for Grinchmas, so I'll be interested in seeing what's new myself when it reopens. Or maybe the internet, like everyone will go see it on November 12th when this episode comes out and be like, nothing changed at all. And I believe that too. Maybe just need to get those wheels oiled.
Very possible. All right, so as usual, we've only covered Universal on the show. Welcome to the show. Now we're going to be talking about the top.
We really have just talked about Universal. I was thinking about it too, and yeah. But I think we're going to change it up this week, right?
Yeah, because we're going to be talking about the top attractions we'd be happy to never, ever, ever, ever do again. It's like these are attractions that we did, and we said, "Ha ha, that was fun." No, thank you. And that was our exact reaction coming off the attraction. So, Adam, would you like to go ahead and start with? We each picked 10
Yes.
from our personal list of attractions that we would not care to ride again. They come from all parks. Some of them may be controversial and get us canceled on Twitter. But Adam, you can go ahead and start off.
So I'm just gonna say ahead of time that a few of these I've asterisked where it's like, okay, I'll do this one more time because like a brother, a friend may not have been to the park where this attraction is located, and I'll do it for them. But otherwise, I'm kind of done. And actually, this one's got two asterisks because it's closing in 2 months, and that is Shrek 4D. I I laughed during the attraction when we wrote it on the 6th, November 6th. That, but I'm happy to make November 6th the last time I experienced Shrek 4D. I'm I had experienced it a few years ago, but now I'm in there thinking, how has it lasted this long? Personally,
Yeah, I would agree. I think my local 4D theater where I can go see any movie in 4D in its entirety is far superior experience to Shrek 4D. And for what Shrek 4D does offer in the story, it's on Netflix and on DVD, and it has been for 15 years. So, you know, what does Shrek 4D have to offer that's really unique to a theme park? Not much. So I concur.
yeah, like I PhilharMagic, Mickey's PhilharMagic, is one of my favorite things in all of the Magic Kingdom. That's a 3D show. Muppet Vision is also a 3D show, and I quite enjoy it. So it's not that I have a thing against 3D shows. I think it's just this one is kind of out. I mean, I don't want to say it all negative like, but it has outstayed. I mean, it's a negative show, but it has outstayed its welcome a little bit. And I was going to wait to bring this up, but like until the end of the show, like what's the value of some of these bad attractions? But I really enjoy being positive in episode 4. I want to bring a little bit of positivity to this. So, if we can, try to say something nice about each one too. I think I'm going to do that as we go down the list. Shrek 4D is good for kids. That's for sure. I think that's why it has lasted this long. It's because it is for kids and for Shrek fans. Like very much Shrek fans.
Yeah, and it gets good guest satisfaction numbers because if you've never seen it before, which I'm sure many guests haven't seen it or haven't seen it in 15 years or don't know that it's on Netflix, it is something that is, fun enough.
Yeah.
My number 10 is Wild Arctic. This is SeaWorld's famed simulator ride. Some say that it's officially closed for good. This was one where such a great concept, such poor execution. Maybe it was good execution when it opened, but the idea of the helicopter ride to the Arctic was really cool. And the fact they actually had the Arctic exhibit afterwards and themed it so well in a time before theming was really that extensive. And for SeaWorld to pull it off, it was just really impressive. Unfortunately, the film did not age well, and the simulator cabin sounds like it's gonna fall apart, and the video looks very 90s, and it just needs to go. I will definitely just be walking to the Wild Arctic exhibit from now on. I think the Polar Express overlay of Wild Arctic was far superior when it ran. But if I had to say one nice thing about Wild Arctic, you know, it really showed Disney the way to Star Wars: The Adventures Continue because it was a reskin of the former Mission Bermuda Triangle attraction, showing that the same simulator could be reskinned and tell different stories within a single simulator. And Disney took that concept for Star Wars: The Adventures Continue. So truly a pioneering attraction in its time. Now we will just meme Norm the Snowman.
Yeah. So I was going to peek at your list, but the Google Doc was just open. So I peeked at your list, and before we started recording, I thought to myself, maybe that should go on my list instead of Shrek. But because I completely forgot about it. I thinking SeaWorld, what is there at SeaWorld? I don't like Kraken, but I'd probably go on Kraken.
Yeah.
If I was with a group of friends, you're like, yeah, we're gonna do all the roller coasters, man, which has happened. And I forgot about Wild Arctic because I was just thinking the roller coasters. And oh yeah, it's very bad. It is a very bad ride. And in some cases, it is so bad that it might be good, but it's also so bad it's a little bit painful. And we had memed it so much between ourselves that I forgot that the meme originated in a not good attraction. But yes, even if this ride has closed forever, which you're probably more knowledgeable about that than I am, because I don't really pay attention to Wild Arctic. Although I did hear the haunted house in it this year was stellar, among Hallow Scream Orlando. Which congratulations on year one, folks. Norm the Snowman will go down in memory. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
All right. Yeah, mine number 9. If I heard myself say this one, I'd probably kick myself. And I do want to say beforehand, too, that I did leave off certain attractions from this list. Attractions that are roller coasters, but specifically kiddie coasters. Will I go on Woody Woodpecker's Nut House coaster? Probably not again. It's painful for me at this time in my life. Flight of the Hippogriff, I just feel guilty, and that hurts too. So kiddie coasters like that, I probably won't do. But I'm not putting them on that list, or else, it'd be kind of dull. But there is a coaster that is kind of mild in some ways, built mild anyway, that I don't ever want to do again, really, even though I love the idea of it. And it saddens me to say this because I've loved it for so long. But the last time I rode it, I'm like, I don't need to ever experience that again. And that is Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom. And so here's what I'll say about Space Mountain Magic Kingdom, or Space Mountain 75, Starport 75, whatever you like to call it in your spare time. Some of you just might call it Space Mountain. And honestly, I respect that. That's great. And I probably should do that too. It is rough. And you might not notice because the seats are so padded. But then you realize, you think to yourself, why are the seats so padded? It's because this roller coaster is not built for comfort. I will say this, though, again, the theming is cool. I love the idea of it. The music and the queue is wonderful. I love the idea of Space Mountain. I could do my homework to the music forever. Wait, I don't do homework anymore. I graduated. You know what I mean. Listen, a lot of years of listening to Space Mountain and falling in love with it. Like I would love there to be a Space Mountain movie. I'd see that, right away if it happened. But the ride itself, I've experienced enough. And, maybe just speaking for myself, if I go to Magic Kingdom alone, that's not going to be on my itinerary anymore. But again, love the idea of it. There's a lot of good qualities to it, but the ride itself, to me, is not one. I've not been to the Disneyland version, but I honestly can't wait to ride the Disneyland version because it looks like an improvement in every way. But the Magic Kingdom one is not for me.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly disagree.
I know.
But I'll probably bring up this argument for Rip Ride Rocket as well. Not to, sorry to spoil, but
wow. I think I dragged it on the show already, so
yeah,
and Twitter. I drag it a lot. So if you know me or know about me, that's probably no surprise.
Our backs are built different. Maybe mine is
Apparently.
just less sensitive, or maybe I'm just not as old.
You are younger.
Maybe I will share Adam's opinion here in a couple years. But I do have a coaster on my list that's rough. But that's not my next. Well, that is my next one actually. It's Flight School. Flight School at Legoland, Florida. This is their inverted Vekoma coaster, which is one of the most painful experiences you can ever have on any roller coaster. Specifically when it had over-the-shoulder restraints, and I think it still does. The last time I rode it, I just remember not liking it again. I rode it a second time after vowing to never ride it again because I think they changed it to lap bar restraints. It's still not good. The forces pull in all of the wrong places, and perhaps the craziest thing about this attraction design is it's the exact same layout as the Dragon coaster, or at least the outdoor part, but just inverted. Like literally, if you look at the track layouts, they follow the exact same layout. It's simply an inverted version of that. So they took what was a sit-down coaster design and made it inverted, and the trains are small and it's tight. And like if you've ridden Freedom Flyer at Fun Spot America, that is like everything that this coaster should be and is not. Flying School at Legoland, Florida will actively discourage children from joining the aviary profession. and I do not recommend it to any person who visits Legoland, Florida, even as an introduction to the inverted coaster species. All pilots should be ashamed. Everybody who worked on the project should forget that they worked on the project. And I think I've said my piece.
So I've never been to Legoland yet. Maybe one day. I've not been, so I cannot cool the flames that you have set. But holy crap. That's for your number 9? I'm looking at 8 through 1 and wonder how can it get worse? Well, 1 maybe, but everything else?
I don't think I put mine in any particular order. I think
okay.
I just threw mine on the list. I think they landed in a general well spot. I certainly think, and I'm going to spoil my own list here. I certainly think Flight School is a worse attraction than Cali River Rapids in every possible way. So yeah, I think my list is just out of order. I'm just going random.
Okay. Mine's in a loose order anyway. I'm not sticking to this. But wow, I thought yours was in an order. I'm like, that's really harsh for number 9. Again, I can't defend it because I've not done it. I thought you were going to compare it to, I thought it was, before you started describing it, I thought it was going to be like a clone of the Flying Ace aerial chase at those Paramount parks, but
No.
it sounds a lot worse.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to experience it when you go to Legoland, and you can agree with me.
Nah, that'll be the last thing we do, I guess, because I don't want to hurt. Number 8 for me doesn't hurt me physically, but it does hurt me inside a little bit. Just because my childhood memories have betrayed me with how much this attraction value had held for me, and that's the Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin, also at Magic Kingdom. I guess I don't like Tomorrowland as much as I want to, because they are getting roasted in this list. And this isn't even the end of it. Or maybe I just don't experience that many bad attractions, and so this is kind of weak sauce. Nevertheless, this ride has a long wait a lot of times, and the ride feels as old as it is, and as cheap as it probably was, comparatively. I don't know if it's improved in other parks, but listen, I do love like shooter attractions because they are addictive fun. But Buzz Lightyear for me is not quite as addictive as some of the others, like Men in Black Alien Attack.
It's nowhere near as good as Men in Black.
Or even within the same resort, like our friend Landon, he had the Frontierland Shooting Gallery, which is also free and also addictive. And it's a shooting game at Magic Kingdom. I don't know, how it compares to Buzz, but you got Toy Story Mania that is leagues better and way more fun with way more tricks and way more immersive too.
Absolutely.
But I do understand the appeal for Buzz Lightyear because I want to be in those shoes where I just have a bunch of fun. I mean, it's fun to look at your picture and how serious you look or how silly you look if you know where the camera is. But it just doesn't feel fresh. Oh, and the queue is bad. So cramped.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've updated it in after the dark years, but holy Moses. Yeah. I understand its appeal. Because I like it in a whole bunch of other things. But Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin for the wait, yeah, I don't really want to do it again.
I think the only redeeming attraction in Tomorrowland is the People Mover, because my next actually no, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is great, but my next item on the list is the Tomorrowland Speedway, which let's be real, let's talk about the Speedway. The amount of noise pollution that the Tomorrowland Speedway brings to the Magic Kingdom is grossly absurd. People talk about, oh, the theme parks are too loud. I'm pretty sure 80% of that noise is the Tomorrowland Speedway. And it's not even anywhere near the local housing districts. I think removing the Tomorrowland Speedway would create a level of serenity that has yet to be seen since the outskirts of Kilimanjaro safaris. And there's so little to redeem the Tomorrowland Speedway. It's an attraction that Legoland does better, because kids can actually drive little electric cars without being on a track. These gas-powered monstrosities at the Tomorrowland Speedway that smell bad, are cramped, were built before Walt Disney was born. It's just not good. It's not a good attraction. It takes up so much space. It bleeds into Fantasyland like like the blood from Will Turner's hand in Pirates of the Caribbean, and that, that's the end of my roast of that one. I really just think if you had to get rid of one attraction in Magic Kingdom, why are you not getting rid of the Tomorrowland Speedway? It's wrong in all the wrong ways.
Hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that would probably be the first one I want to go in the Magic Kingdom. That said, the last time I rode it, which granted has been a while, I liked it. It's got good views. I don't know if the views have changed with Tron coming in. Um, but even though there's that track that's kind of stupid that keeps everything in line, which I guess it has its purposes, I've enjoyed it, and I think I mean, speaking as a former kid myself, there's some fun in that. So I mean, I'm surprised it's on your list, but I also like I don't disagree that it should be the first thing to go in Magic Kingdom, but wow, being the one that should never be ridden again, like it'll spoil your day if you do it. That's harsh, but you're owed your opinion.
Yeah, I think if you wait any more than 5 minutes for it, you'll have ruined your day.
Hmm.
And you don't have a kid, and you don't have a kid, obviously. If you have a kid, then I think you can have a different perspective. But again, so noisy, so unnecessary, so many better attractions in the same vein that would better capture. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going on a little rant, but like, really, we're in a land about tomorrow in the future, and you're gonna have gas powered cars. Come on, come on.
Well, my number seven's not gonna. Well, actually, this might be the first one that people agree with. That's the Simpsons ride.
Bum 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 ba-dum bum bum ba da 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 dun.
Jonathan, easy, easy with the music. So the Simpsons ride, I actually liked the Simpsons ride for a long time, and like every time someone would say, "Oh, the Simpsons ride that needs to go, that sucks," and it sticks around, how? I've always disagreed with them until one fateful day I take a friend to Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure, and while we're in Universal Studios Florida, she says, my mom used to say that there was Back to the Future here, and she rode that ride. I'm like, oh, that's actually what the Simpsons is now. It's very similar. They just put the Simpsons here too. And it was like a 25-minute wait or something. And I'm like, do you want to do it? She's like, I don't care. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. We got the worst seat ever, which for me, not to get in a whole like which seat is the best discourse, because that's annoying. To I mean, it is. The bottom, so it's a theater of 9 or 12 cars or something like that, that all experience the same movie, but and they simulate the same way, but they're just tiered differently, kind of like Flight of Passage, but on a smaller scale. And the bottom right corner car, that did it for me. That one experience that's made me afraid to ever ride this ride again. Now the script for the ride is good, the acting is funny, like it is a good ride in a lot of ways, but the motion sickness on it did it for me. I never get motion sick on a lot of things, but that one day I got motion sick, and I'll steer away from it for a good long while. It's been a couple years too, and I just really don't want to experience it again. But again, the writing of it is good, and I there's a lot of appeal to it, and I just lost that appeal from that one ride personally.
It's one of those where I agree. I was in the same position with you, and I also had a really bad ride, but mine was it was, I think, the top corner, and in the top row of vehicles, you have so much less screen to look at. It's like
Oh,
you literally only have the first third of the screen, and it's dome curved, so it's super off, and you're close to the side, and it's just uncomfortable. And it's like, well, yes, the writing is great, and I think the ride would work if you did a complete overhaul and just, obviously switched the way it's loaded and everything and where the screen is positioned. You could make the Simpsons ride work because it's a very cleverly executed multiple pre-show premise with the way everything's set up with Sideshow Bob and the whole deal. But in its current state, man, it's just you just don't want to ride it with the risk of sitting somewhere. And then half of the times I wrote it, the employees wouldn't even play the pre-show, and
yeah, that happened to me too. If
which
it's a certain wait time, like I think maybe 15 minutes, uh at least in my experience, they'll either start boarding the pre-show rooms, like the funhouse rooms, the safety spiel, rooms, like halfway through the show, or they'll start playing the show and just have it on a loop, and then you just go to your spot. That way, I think it's so you don't have to stand forever to coordinate all the theaters when they start moving, which I guess is easier to do if you wait longer, ironically. But that's my experience. I don't know if the wait
Yeah.
time was a factor for you.
Yeah, no, so I'm with you on Simpsons Ride. I think unless I want to take somebody on it, yeah, I don't want to do it again, and that's really sad because there was a time when I really loved it.
I remember you being a really big fan of it, and I thought I was being the Debbie Downer. But I guess we're both in the same boat.
Yeah, great writing, great parody, bad ride system.
Your turn.
Oh, yes, true. My number 7 is The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh at the Magic Kingdom.
And outrage.
This ride has no magic. It is the least of the Fantasyland dark rides, and that's saying something because Peter Pan is incredibly overrated. The story is bland, the animatronics are weak. The ride offers no unique take on the genre of Fantasyland dark ride. It does the bare minimum,
Yeah,
which is exist.
that was a pun.
And it's always very it's it's a very short ride. It's not long. It should not be called The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. It should be called The 32nd Adventure of Winnie the Pooh. It'd be a more accurate description. And the line is always way too long for what it is, and I have ridden this attraction because other people like it at least 3 times, and I cannot tell you a single story beat from this attraction, which speaks to how absolutely forgettable this attraction is.
So to speak positively on it for a second before I get into some really funny stuff. At least I think it's funny. You might not. I don't mind it. Again, it's not going to be one that I'm going to wait a long time for, but I enjoy it for what it is. But there's so many things at the Magic Kingdom that like not everything can be like a must do. So it's a good little filler attraction, I guess to say. But I have good memories of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, not from the ride, but from a ride video of it. When my brother and I were younger, we were watching we were watching a ride through of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which to fact check you for a second, the reason it's called the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is because it's based on the movie of the same name, Jonathan.
Oh, right. Just like how Splash Mountain is named after the movie Splash. We love Eisner.
Yeah. Except this one actually made sense. Anywho, so we're watching this ride video, and I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I managed to convince my brother, and he'll deny this, but it's true, that the ride was actually about Winnie the Pooh dying.
No.
Yes, and he was like 8 or something, so like gullible, and we hadn't been to Disney for a long time, so I mean, time had passed. But yeah, because there's that scene where like Pooh takes a nap and he falls asleep, and like he kind of like astral projects or something. And I said, "Hey Ben, do you know what happened here? Pooh died." And then like it's the rest of it's like his nightmare, like it is his nightmare, but like his nightmare death. I don't know how he bought it. And again, he says he won't buy it, but managing to recontextualize every other beat of that ride into being about the death of Winnie the Pooh, whom I love and grew up loving. It's a memory that'll always stick with me, and that is why I really do kind of enjoy the ride existing. And it got featured in the Kingdom Keepers novel. Water got loose and tried to drown our heroes in the ride. I don't know the logistics of that, but I do remember that scene.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, I guess that's Winnie the Pooh. Again, I feel like the other thing I can say is that it did replace Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which I've never ridden, but I presume to be a far more exceptional attraction. Not in the sense that it was good, but it was at least unique. It was at least memorable. Like I never rode it, and I can tell you how it ends. And I've ridden Winnie the Pooh 3 times, and I still can't tell you a single thing that happens. So yes, on to your next point.
Oh bother. So keeping on that cartoon theme, Dudley Do Ride's Ripsaw Falls. Not a fan. Every time someone's like, even jokingly says, "Hey, do you want to do Dudley Do Ride's Ripsaw Falls?" Regardless of temperature. Like if it's cold out, if it's hot out, if a water ride would be really great, I kind of go, do you really want to? I mean, I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. I guess that's why there's an asterisk by it on my list. So I do For all the things on this list, I do believe everything at Universal Orlando is worth doing once, and I think that probably extends a bit to Disney because it's just fun to experience the entire package of what a park has to offer. That said, some of these are one and dones, and I've done Dudley Do Right twice. First time, maybe it was because I was in the back, but the seating arrangement, I know it's traditional, but I don't like it. I don't like having to spread my legs to enjoy a ride, and then I feel like I'm gonna fly out because one, my butt is literally on the, well, not literally, there's a barrier that is the ride vehicle, but it's so low to the track, and I've got this lap bar that I don't really think does upkiss, and there's some extreme movements on that attraction that it's rough. My stomach hurt the first time I did it. It was unpleasant. I did do it a second time. It was a bit more enjoyable. I'm not looking forward to the third time I experienced Dudley Do Right's Ripsaw Falls, and I'd rather it never be done.
Maybe if you ride in the front seat, it'll be better.
Maybe, but that's scary. Actually, now that I think about it, the entire ride is scary for me because I don't feel comfortable at all. Not like I'm going to fly out. That's not why I fear it. It's just I fear how I'm going to feel afterwards. Kind of like a bad Mexican food.
Yeah. I disagree. I think Ripsaw Falls is an excellent attraction, but I also agree in the sense that it's not one that I always want to do every time. It's one that it definitely has to be right after you're wearing the correct attire. It's not one that I will just jump on and be chafing for the rest of the day. I will say, as far as water rides go, it is very unique. It does have the little ups and down roller coaster parts where it does coast. I will fight IMDb, who says it's not a roller coaster, because it does in fact roll and coast on gravity.
Jonathan,
at multiple points during the attraction. What?
Not IMDb. That's
RCDB. Yeah. But in that sense, I like it. I like that it has the parody aspect of Pirates of the Caribbean at the end. You can obviously tell the sets weren't finished, but there is something about the fact that there's an entire attraction devoted to this obscure Jay Ward cartoon segment of Rocky and Bullwinkle that makes me smile. And I think it was largely just due to the fact that Brendan Fraser was going to be in a Dudley Do Right feature film in 1999 when the park was under construction. So the fact that this cast of characters from a sketch segment of a comedy show makes me laugh. Dudley Do Right itself makes me laugh. I just think it's such a fun IP to turn into a full-fledged multi-million-dollar theme park attraction. It would be kind of like if if the Good Feathers from the Animaniacs got a multi-million-dollar theme park attraction. Is essentially what happened here. So in that sense, I really appreciate that. On the other hand, it gets you so wet. It's like there's times I don't want to do it. It's so slow loading. The restraints are not comfortable, especially compared to like Splash Mountain or even Stanley Falls Flume at Busch Gardens. It's just not good. But it is more extreme, and I don't know. I mean, it's a nice long ride. It definitely isn't over quickly, so I can appreciate that aspect of it. But it's never one that I'm gonna be like, oh, I don't want to do that again. I think if I'm doing a water ride day, it's on the list.
Yeah, and I do like seeing Rocky and Bullwinkle in the queue as like animatronic Country Bear Jamboree heads.
That's right, they are there. That's really cool.
Yeah, not that I have any deep connection to Rocky and Bullwinkle. I don't know which one's Rocky and which one's Bullwinkle. Is it Squirrel and Moose, respectively?
I own all 5 seasons, and I don't know.
Oh, but the story and the animatronics of it, I think, is fun. But it's hard to go in a Universal attraction and say the story wasn't really there. Like even with the haunted mazes, like some of the mazes have loose stories, but I was talking to my brother, and the story-centric mazes were among his favorites. So that's just something Universal does well, regardless, even if the ride is painful and uncomfortable. For me, it's not true for everyone, but for me, oof. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, Jonathan, I see your number 6. I'm going to fight you.
Yeah, so my number 6 is the Jungle Cruise. This is a very controversial opinion. And it's weird because I like puns. I like the dad joke humor. I laugh along with it. I just think as an attraction, Jungle Cruise, for the amount of time that it consistently has a wait for, I never want to ride it, and I never think that it's worth more than a walk-on wait. So in that sense, maybe it is just the fact that it has such a long wait time for what I perceive as the value of experience. It's also one that I don't think I will ride by myself. I need a group of people to ride it with to make it fun. So in that sense, I also won't rewrite it. But I just think as a concept, it's incredibly dated, and I understand. I full respect to all the skippers who give their all. I love Spiel attractions. It's incredible, but there's days when you give them one too many spiels, and I think that might be what I've caught on the few times that I've ridden it, where it's just you've given it so many times, and the audience is in 3 a.m. heat, or not 3 p.m. heat, and just not really being willing to laugh. And then the cheesy effects inside the cave, and just the dated animatronics. The whole thing is there for nostalgia and charm that I never really grew up with. I don't have an affinity to go to Trader Sam's Grotto and drink up. I don't have, I grew up at Busch Gardens where I could see real versions of the animals on Rhino Rally, which was a far superior attraction, in my opinion. But it also included a spieler with fun jokes and had, I feel, much better pace, especially in its early days.
And guest interaction.
Exactly. And Jungle Cruise just doesn't have that. It hits the same beats, but the beats don't provide anything new or groundbreaking in the world of the theme park. And so for me, unless I'm with a group of people who wants to wait 50 minutes for it, I'd be happy to never do Jungle Cruise again.
So, Jonathan, what I'm taking away from your reasoning is that the reason you never want to do this ride again is because it's been too beloved for too long.
Not necessarily. I think it's the fact that it's beloved doesn't affect me. I think maybe that's the thing. It's just like I don't have that belovedness for it. I never grew up loving the Jungle Cruise, and like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I mean the new movie certainly didn't help.
Oh, was it bad? I haven't seen it yet. Oh, it's coming out on Disney Plus soon, so maybe I'll watch it then
It's
finally.
Disney Plus Day, but it was just not memorable.
Yeah, I guess it's not for everyone. Okay. So I love the Jungle Cruise dearly. The jokes have stuck with me for a long time. If ever I can work in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the eighth wonder of the world, the backside of water. It's one of the greatest theme park lines in the history of theme park lines. Lines meaning dialogue, not cues.
Got to mind your P's and Q's.
And like I do understand what you mean. Like if it's a 115-minute wait, you don't want to wait for it. I went to Magic Kingdom alone for a little bit, and I decided to do Pirates of the Caribbean, which was 30 instead of Jungle Cruise, which was 75 or 150. 75 when I went in and 115 when I went out. Again, I love the ride. I don't want to wait that long for it because I have done it, but I always want to do it. Like I always want to experience it. Maybe I don't want to wait a whole lot to experience it. Maybe I'll be the fool who pays $5 for the Lightning Lane. Probably, honestly, that'll happen if I go to Magic Kingdom again. But yeah, no, I deeply love that ride. We even have a board game themed to Jungle Cruise by Ravensburger. Actually, quite fun, simple and fun. I don't play it all the time, but it's got charm, and I think that's what this ride has is charm. It's got the dad jokes. I just really enjoy it. I've had good memories, a lot of good rides on the Jungle Cruise. One time actually, and maybe this is like a really bad thing to do on the ride. Speaking of guest etiquette, I don't know. But I went on with some high school friends on a trip, and a friend of mine in the band actively counted the number of puns and dad jokes. We're upwards of 70 by the end.
Wow.
That's including ad libs too. Like it was a time. I can't remember if the skipper thanked us or said get out, but either way, the memory sticks very positively. And they've updated it. I need to see the updates, see what they've done to modernize and clean up and make it more enduring. And hopefully I like the Rock movie, but I don't have my hopes terribly high.
Yes. I think I'll conclude the Jungle Cruise by saying the most enjoyment that I got was seeing the boat sinking on Twitter and the memes that followed. And that's right.
And for those who love the ride, that was a little sprinkle on top. welcome back. Make sure you answer the poll if you're listening on Spotify mobile. Again, that's only the mobile app, but we will have a poll on there, or perhaps a question. Either way, answer it, and maybe if we get some responses, we'll talk about it next week. I hope you're enjoying the show so far, and we're on the last half of this. We're in the final stretch, right? Yeah.
We we're in the final stretch, but it is your turn to talk about an attraction.
Indeed, it is. My number 5 we've alluded to earlier, and this is another asterisk one, the last one actually, where I only have one ride left in me, and if this ride does not do it, then I stand by this opinion. Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit. This is one of the few attractions where I've gotten off it and insulted it immediately. So I'd ridden it in like 2011. I think that seems about right on my calendar, or 2012. I didn't have bad memories of it. It's a very quiet coaster. So I'm like, it can't be rough. And rode it. I thought I had a good time on it. Then I rode it a second time, and I got off, and my family, and I was riding with my mom because we're both coaster nuts. And the rest of my family was down in the Universal Music Plaza stage, not taking a nap, unlike Jonathan would. And they said, "How was it?" And I said, "It's bad. It's real bad. That's a bad ride. Woof, bad." So for me, it's really rough and uncomfortable. And it's a really badly made coaster, honestly, I think. I know we like to be nice on the show, but this is not that. If it doesn't have the music, you really see, which happened to me the second time, so maybe that's not fair. But I mean, the Hulk didn't have music for what, 15 years? I'm just, guessing, for a very long time, and the ride was still great. The music only enhanced it. Rip Ride Rockit, you take the music off, there's not really redeeming quality to it. It's rough. It's got too many, breaks. I mean, and it's not even like for safety. It's just like, I think it's to line up with music. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, I know what they were thinking. It's a cool concept to build a coaster based on a concept versus like G-forces and momentum and all that. But there's no momentum to it after all. And they're talking about, like, when they were promoting it, they're like, "Oh, it's got these tricks. There's like, we called this the crowd surf." I don't even think about that when I'm on it. Even when I'm by it, I'm like, "Oh, that's the crowd surf portion." There's nothing about it sticks out except for how much I hate it. And it looks good, but I don't like it. Oh, Jonathan, defend it, because you're not really going to get much positivity from me, it seems. I like the rainbow connections on it and Night on Bald Mountain. There you go. That's my positivity.
The music is an essential part of the attractions. When it's not working, I completely understand. For me, there will be nothing quite as exciting as putting on Immigrant Song and hearing that song as going over the first drop. The whole Secret Tracks program, if you want to call it a program, an illegal program, a secret program, is amazing. The fact that you can listen to Disney licensed music on a Universal coaster that did not, in fact, license the music. I think there's something wonderful about that. But in addition to that, it's just a fun coaster. It's not super intense other than the lift hill. So like on so many coasters, like on Hulk, you got to brace yourself for everything. On this one, it's so lackadaisical. There's so many brake runs. You can just kick back and enjoy the ride. And honestly, I think that is a nice change of pace for what's supposed to be an extreme coaster. Obviously, the brake runs are there so they can run multiple trains so that it can be efficient. I don't think I've ever waited more than like 10 minutes in the single rider's line. So in that sense, it's a very great ride to do if you're going to the parks, because you can just get in the single rider's line. The lift hill is more intense than you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think the biggest issue is the fact that the touch screens are so fickle. It can be difficult to get them to work. And I honestly think if they were to keep this coaster around for another couple of years, I think it could use a retracking like Hulk. Maybe reprofile it so that they no longer need trim brakes on the drop, which they have since added, which I think have in a way decreased the experience. But overall, I can't say that this is a bad coaster. I come off of it happy every time that I ride it, and it does all that it does with only a lap bar. It was the precursor to Velocicoaster. It's Velocicoaster's dad.
Okay, what a stretch. A super stretch. That's a better version of this roller coaster. The rock and roller coaster of a similar name That's starring Aerosmith.
Oh, the Rip Ride Rock and Roller Coaster. As
Mm, mm. Well, if we keep on going, it'll just be a long rant, and I don't want to get into that really. Well, it'll happen, just not with this one. Jonathan, you go next.
My final comment on Rip Ride Rocket is I think it's great that we have an attraction promoting piracy, because the name is the Rip Ride Rocket. You know, it's like you rip your music and you ride the ride, and then you rock it. So we love to see the promotion of piracy by Comcast.
The Universal Music Group promotes this. Wait a minute, you're saying that that's what the rip means in the title? Like rip a CD? Okay.
And that's a super stretch. All right, my next ride, it is in fact the Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Over Georgia. What many consider to be a beloved coaster, I consider to be pain. It it was once the tallest coaster in the world. That doesn't matter. This ride was put underwater during a hurricane. It's that viral photo that you see of Six Flags Over Georgia whenever somebody's like, the park flooded, and they just pull a picture from 2009. I don't know if that was the actual year it got flooded, but the Great American Scream Machine has been through a lot. It's marked as a very historic coaster. It's marked as great and American, and I feel like the way the ride rides today, it captures in a sense what it can feel like to be an American at times. It is very very rough and bumpy, and it throws you from your seat. And by the end, you wish you had never ridden it. You wish that you had ridden Blue Hawk instead next door. And that may be a very controversial opinion, but the Great American Scream Machine is not great. It is most definitely American made, and you will be screaming on the way home out of pain.
So I did it once a long, long time ago, and my trick on wooden roller coasters is to ride it like a buck and bull. Hold your lap bar with one hand, and hold either the safety thing or the seat ahead of you, and hold on to that, and you can have a lot of fun on a wooden roller coaster. I think that's what I did on the Scream Machine, and I had fun on it. Again, I've only done it once, and I really can't defend it too much as I only did it once, and I was very young, comparatively speaking. Like it had to have been like 8 years ago. So I do want to write it again, but apparently I have really strong opinions. And I actually didn't believe you when you said that it was underwater. I thought you were talking about a different roller coaster of the same name, because there's a lot of Great American Scream Machines. But yeah, wow, that and Mindbender were both underwater. That is incredible, and they still stand.
This is true.
My number 4 is another roller coaster that, for some people, is well beloved. The Carolina Cyclone at Carowinds. This might seem unusual. Like you might look at the Carowinds lineup and be like, that's the one? That's the one you're swearing off forever? The Carolina Cyclone? I mean, you have Busch Gardens on this list, don't you? You've been to Busch Gardens. Why isn't Sand Serpent on there? Why isn't Scorpion on there? Well, that, folks, I haven't been on in years and I still have good memories of those, or I'm willing to test those memories. Carolina Cyclone, and the one memory I do have of it, it wasn't positive. I remember going up that lift hill and I noticed the screw in the seat ahead of me was shaking violently. And I thought to myself, is this the day I die? I have lived on, but my head, I don't think has. It was very rough. It looks cool. It's different colors. Like it changes colors as the ride goes on. It's a very interesting element looking at it from the outside. And it looks like it shouldn't be, awful. But I even if I do go back to Carowinds, which I hope to do one day, this is not going to be one I'm going to reevaluate, I don't believe. Unless someone pays me to do it.
I have nothing to say because I have no frame of reference for it, but I'll believe you.
Yeah, it's not like the Cyclone, like the classic Cyclone. It's just they took the name and put Carolina over it on a different kind of track. I think I'm actually going to Google it. I'm trying to figure out who the manufacturer was. I mean, you just look at the track and it's asking for trouble. Like John, it's Arrow. It's an Arrow looper.
Oh my.
Yeah, 95 feet high, 41 miles per hour, only need to be 4 feet tall. And that's just one that I think will turn you off from roller coasters for a bit if you don't do them often. That is not a fun one for me, but I'm trying to think of the good. I need to talk positively about it because there's value to bad attractions. The colors are nice. There you go.
All right, so yeah, my next one, I've spoiled it, I think at least 3 times already, is Cali River Rapids. This is one of those attractions where it fills out Animal Kingdom's lineup, but I'm never really in the mood to do the water attraction. And it also, compared to what Infinity Falls at SeaWorld offers and what Popeye and Bluto's offers at Universal, if I'm gonna do a raft ride, it's not gonna be Cali River Rapids. And it hurts me to hurt this attraction because the theming is so stinking stellar. Joe Rohde does such an amazing job. The fact that you float past the monkey exhibit, these gorgeous waterfalls. I mean, the scenery for this ride is unlike anything else, but its pacing is garbage. It's over in 10 seconds, and you probably waited at least an hour to get on it. And given all the other great attractions at Animal Kingdom, I can never justify giving time to Cali River Rapids. I think as an experience, it very much works, like with this list, as a one and done. I would say if you have not done Cali River Rapids, absolutely, it is worth riding for the scenery alone. It's beautiful floating through the forest, but you're floating through the forest through 40 seconds. And when I'm doing a raft ride that I waited an hour for and I'm hot and I'm in the sun, I would like to actually have an enjoyable and thrilling raft experience, which Infinity Falls at SeaWorld personally is my favorite in Orlando. And Cali River Rapids just cannot compete. It very much feels like the year after Animal Kingdom opened edition that it was.
So it is one of my least favorite attractions. I made a list about a year ago when we were talking about like where would you rank things. Ranking is a big thing to do, and so I did that, and that just landed at the bottom of my list. Whether it's Animal Kingdom, Disney, all of Orlando, for all the reasons Jonathan said. I think the reason it's not on my list, so I only did it once, but the Cali River Rapids I think is just a ride where it might be missing something. I think I was just so confused the first time I wrote it. I felt like something was missing. And that's the same thing I feel with King and Kodo's Twirl and Hurl at Universal Studios Florida. It's a very weird comparison, folks, I know. And it does sound like, man, these two jerks can't stop talking about freaking Universal. When are they not going to talk about Universal in a gosh dang episode? When we talk about the Haunted Mansion, that's when it's going to happen. Hopefully it happens eventually soon. Fingers crossed. Anywho, yeah, the Cali River Rapids, it's just a ride I think I want to go on again, just to be like, what am I missing? Am I missing anything? And it sounds like, Jonathan, the answer is no, I wasn't missing anything at all. I heard there's fire. Is there actually fire, or did I hear that badly?
Depends on what day you're there.
Okay, so maybe that's what was missing. Maybe I just need to experience the fire to get this attraction its full potential. Yeah, I totally see. I totally understand why that's on your list.
So yeah, next up is for you,
Astro Orbiter. I'm just gonna go right out there and say it, Astro Orbiter.
I'm gonna tie it in because that's my number 2, so we can both talk about it. But I'll let you go first.
Okay, so the reason this is my number 3 is motion sickness. I don't get motion sick on a lot of things. This one does it for me. And I love spinners. As we said at the top of the show, we rode Stormforce Accelatron and had a great time. Didn't get woozy, didn't get motion sick. And even rides I do get like, whoa, like dizzy off of, like Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa. Like I enjoy those attractions still. It's just something about Astro Orbiter I don't love. And I do have like very stark, distinct memories of being nauseous on it. And so the last time I was at Magic Kingdom with Jonathan and my brother and his girlfriend, we were going to wait and do Astro Orbiter. And as the line kept on dragging and dragging, because it was like a 40-minute wait, but it is such a cool idea to have a centerpiece of the land be a ride itself. That's a really cool concept. And to have it super high up, that's a cool concept. But I think being so high up, it just made me sick the first time. And the second time as we're waiting, I'm just remembering the experience more viscerally and viscerally and viscerally. I had to drive back home 2 hours right afterwards. It's already nighttime and I don't want to be tired and sick because of that ride. And just all that combined, while it is interesting and it's the only ride you get legitimately ride an elevator up to get to the loading platform. That's a really cool concept too. Yeah, just never feeling it again. But what's it your number 2?
I agree. Again, my list was more so out of order, and I took a peek at your list, and I was like, oh yeah, I agree. So that's why it's number 2. But it's one of those that just the capacity absolutely murders it. The fact that you have to wait at the bottom and then take the elevator, and then derided, and it's never up to its full capacity because even though each rocket can hold 2 people, those 2 people got to be comfortable being super close to each other.
Oh, it's
So
very intimate.
so at the end of the day, the ride's theoretical capacity is rarely, if ever, reached. Um, and it's very hard to keep it efficient when, again, you only have one elevator that's going up and down. It's not like there's a separate up and down elevator. This is one elevator. It's very poor design. I think it's a great concept. It would work well as a novelty upcharge attraction. I know that might be controversial, but sometimes when you got these low capacity attractions, you just got to charge for them to keep the weights down. And it's a controversial opinion, but it was not built for a lot of people, and you're going to get families who are waiting there in line for an hour of their Disney day to ride what is essentially a walk on in Adventureland at the magic carpets of Aladdin.
And more magical in Fantasyland with Dumbo the Flying Elephant.
Exactly. They're so good. They got 4 of them in the same park. But yeah, Astro Orbiter just, I'm glad it exists to take people away from the rest of Tomorrowland because well, actually no, there's nothing else to do there. Well, Space Mountain, as long as it takes people away from Space Mountain.
Space Mountain, Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
People Mover.
And no, but the People Mover line is usually short anyways. But
I don't know, dude. It had like 45-minute waits when it reopened. Like, people love that People Mover.
But yeah, so I 100% agree with the Astro Orbiter. But I'll go to my number 3, I guess, technically, which is Enchanted Tales with Belle. You know what? It is a perfect filler attraction. I'm going to start with a positive. It rounds out Fantasyland really well. It's a very small, intimate experience with a small group of people. It is a walkthrough. It involves kids getting little teapots and pretending to be the characters from Beauty and the Beast. It's wholesome. It's good. You even got a costumed character. Belle actually comes out to meet the people. A little 5-year-old guy gets to pretend to be the prince. It's cute. It's fun. The mirror effect is nice, but at the end of the day, for the amount of time that you have to wait for the fact that it is such a detailed and thorough experience, it can only hold so many people at a time and is also geared at a much younger audience. It's one that I would be happy to never do again. I think as an attraction for children, brilliant. I can't fault the Imagineer's design, but at least it's in Magic Kingdom where there's enough high capacity attractions in the area that one low capacity attraction isn't going to hurt it. But I mean, you see 65, 70-minute waits for this, and it really is just due to its low capacity. And unless you have a kid, I don't really see much value in visiting this attraction.
Yeah, this is a blind spot for me in Disney. There's quite a few of those. But Enchanted Tales with Belle, I've never done once, but I've actually heard mostly good things about it. And I think most of it is, I'm surprised how good and entertaining and fun it was. I have friends of mine who did do it, and one of them, she got to be the Beast, where the was it a cape? Yeah, the cape or the cloak that the Beast has, and she's like, "I'm the Beast," and she had fun, and she thought the mirror effect. She's like, "How did they do that?" And like watching YouTube videos back to try to figure out how they did. She's like, "I think I figured it out," but still, that's like amazingly cool. I can't believe they actually did that. So I do want to see it in person. I actually don't know if I've watched a YouTube video that has it because I'm just saving myself for that first experience with this attraction. Walkthrough attractions, they have their place. You know what? I'm not gonna. Screw it. You're gonna get another Universal reference. Poseidon's Fury is a walkthrough attraction with many great tricks, and so I'm glad that Magic Kingdom has its Poseidon's Fury for the whole family.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it obviously does not deserve to be, if this was an actual ranked list, at number 3 because it is good. It is just not something that I would ever need to do again in the rest of my life.
So that takes us. Oh, I still have a number 2, so we're not at our number 1s yet. So I'll just go to my number 2, and then because we shared one.
Yes.
I'm surprised this one's not on your list because I thought you hated it with equal passion. Or wait a minute. Did it close forever?
No.
Or did it come back? Oh, it's still here?
Oh no, it is still around. My brain did not process the title of the attraction properly, but you are welcome to talk about it.
folks, have you been to Disney's Hollywood Studios and you see the Grauman Chinese Theater and you're like, man, I wonder what's in there. A Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway ride? Oh my gosh, that has to be great. Oh no, 65 minutes? That sounds absurd. Well, let me look to my right. Oh, an animation courtyard? That sounds magical and fun. Well, let's walk in there. Oh, the kids love The Little Mermaid. That's a classic. In fact, it might be the best movie that Disney has ever made. I don't know if I agree with that opinion, but it's certainly a top 5. And you see it, you're like, it's Disney. It can't be bad. And you walk in, and the host of the show and the little like holding pen that they have for guests in a show really hypes it up. And it's like, oh, that's cool. There's fishing nets. Oh, it's like we're going under the sea. That fits in with the theme. Wow, what theming? And then you go into the show, and it starts, and you realize, oh no, this is bad. That's Voyage of the Little Mermaid.
Somehow I forgot to include this on my list, but I am 100% with you on this.
I think this is honestly your number 1.
Honestly, I do hate this attraction with a passion. I don't know how I forgot to put it on my list, but the last time I wrote it, I think I came out and I couldn't figure out if I had just seen Voyage of the Little Mermaid or if I had just been at a rave on drugs. And I could not figure out which one. I mean, there were lasers. There was water falling from the sky. There was clips from Disney animated movies. I think those are things that raise. I don't know. It's funky.
Jonathan, I think what you just revealed to the world is you don't know what a rave is. My goodness. Your college has raves every now and again, but like they're safe raves. You should experience it sometime so you know the difference between that and the Voyage of the Little Mermaid. Either way, though, I don't think you're going to like either one. So apparently it's supposed to be temporary. Like they needed something to fill up the time.
It was.
Or fill up some space. Like just put a mermaid attraction in there. Just do it. And it I'm surprised it's lasted this long. It has to have some appeal to have stuck around. The black light puppets, it's a cool idea. It sounds cool, but it also like they're very obviously they feel like cheap puppets. And the rainfall that happens in the final scene where it shows the finale of the movie, the fight with Ursula, even the giant Ursula puppet doesn't do it for me because they have one roll in and like puppet. It's not a pleasant experience for me. It's lasted 20 years though, so I guess people do like it. Maybe even it's been 20 years or it's been longer. I can't remember.
It's probably been longer. This attraction is the opposite of the word iconic. It fails in everything that it tries. It tries to do lasers, it fails. It tries to have water fall on you indoors. It succeeds, which is in and of itself a failure. And there's it.
Hold on, Jonathan. I'm gonna jump in for a second. You call yourself a Universal fan. You think water falling from the sky is a failure? I hate to break it to you, bud, but every ride there, every show there, I think even has some water effect, whether it be the Born Stuntacular, the Universal's horror makeup show, or I guess the Velocicoaster doesn't. Okay, I guess you've made your point.
I get what Bourne was trying to do, but it also fails in its water effects, man. When the fountain explodes and you feel rain for 20 minutes.
Fun fact, I did this just yesterday, the day before recording with my brother, and when the water starts coming down, it keeps on coming down. He nudges me and he whispers, "We're getting wet because of the fountain, right?" I said, "Yeah." It's like, okay.
But yeah, I'll criticize the water effects on every ride except Gringotts, and that's not true. But yeah, Voyage of the Little Mermaid is not. It's just not good. I cannot recommend this attraction less.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go into? Do you want me to do my number 1, or do you want to do your number 1 first?
I'll do my number 1 because I feel like this will be a longer conversation than.
Well, should we do that last then?
That makes more sense. You go with your number 1.
My number 1, and this is, I know I've said throughout the show, like, well, if someone else wants to do it, okay, then I guess this list is a lie. I'm not going to include the kiddie coasters because they got some value. I did like it growing up. This one is a hard stop no. If you say, hey, you want to go on Ninja? I'd say, no, I don't want to go on Ninja. And they're like, psych, It's no longer called the Ninja. We're at Six Flags Over Georgia, pal. It's now the Blue Hawk. The name may have changed. I haven't ridden it since it's been the Blue Hawk, but I'm sure it's still a disastrous experience upon a body. Let me just go off. Okay, I know I like to be nice, but there's nothing nice I can say about this. So, Jonathan, you go ahead and take a breather. Drink your water. Maybe get a snack, because this is gonna. Oh man. I always say there's some value in every attraction. I say that you should do everything once. This one I cannot recommend to you to not ride enough. It looks cool. It was called the Ninja. There's some ninjas outside the queue. Not anymore, because it's the Blue Hawk now. What a lie. It's trying to cover up how bad the coaster was, that they did nothing to it. They gave it a paint job and a new name to be like, don't worry, the Ninja's not here anymore. You don't have to face your trauma. And then you ride it and it's like, haha, psych, I got a new name. I got a new costume that's still me underneath. I'm sure there's a movie that does that same trick. I'm trying to think of a good metaphor for this, and it's not coming because the ride's so bad, it doesn't deserve a good metaphor. It's rough. It shakes you around every loop. As you go upside down, you're like, oh, this is this one point of solace before you right back down. And every part of me goes, ow. I rode it with my mother because, again, we were both, great roller coaster fans. We have been for a long time. But here's the thing. She had her earrings on, and it bangs your head into the shoulder restraint so hard it could cause blunt trauma and bleeding. And so as we get off, she actively discourages the people coming into the station, saying, go away, don't ride this, take out your earrings, ladies, if you're gonna try it, because it hurts. You're gonna hurt. It's bad. What's a good thing I can say about this? I honestly can't think of one. I think if it was a different roller coaster manufacturer and he kept the same ride layout, it'd actually be good. But something wrong happened down the line where this has been like the top 10 worst roller coasters in the world, right?
Wait, would you like me to read part of the description? All right. Blue Hawk honors our nation's heroes with a special military theme throughout the It gets better. In the queue line, guests can learn all about the special aircraft that is used by the military.
Thank you for your service. So, okay, timeout. So they took a ride, and I guess you could say, oh, it's the Ninja. It's supposed to hurt because the Ninja just slaps you. It does, whatever Ninja does. The ride is like an accurate experience of what it feels like. It's super immersive. Bull crap, but okay.
I'm gonna do some ASMR with the official Six Flags description of the ride. The anticipation for the 50+ mile per hour first drop will mount as you comfortably look around the Atlanta skyline with our new soft vest over the shoulder restraints and smoothly wrap through 2,100 feet of track, turning upside down on 2 new roller coaster trains.
Oh, there's so much to unpack there. Is it over? Is it over? Can I go on?
That's it. That's it.
Okay, so it actually just got significantly worse. As I was saying a minute ago, okay, Ninja hurts. That makes sense. Sure. Whatever. But you change it from that to honor our nation's heroes? That's what Blue Hawk means? I thought they took a vote on this, by the way, so I don't buy this for a minute. I followed the Facebook page and it said, all right, fans of Six Flags Over Georgia, we're gonna shut the ride down. And we're gonna open up again in 7 months, like Jesus. Choose the name. And Blue Hawk was one of them, and they all suck. They're bad names. They're super generic. And they went to Blue Hawk, and they're like, how can we tie this into theming? We're gonna honor our nation's heroes with the worst roller coaster we can think of. What? Second of all, as you continued reading, because I interrupted you because I thought it was done, I thought it couldn't get any worse. They use words that don't seem quite right, like comfortable and smoothly. I don't care what kind of restraint you have. I don't care how new your trains are. There's a fundamental There's something fundamentally wrong with that roller coaster. I don't care what PR buzzwords you use. That's not going to change jack. Except your spine curvature. And your brain cell count. Because you're going to bang your head against that soft, vast harness. It's not supposed to be hard, but you're still going to hurt. Because there's something wrong with it. And there's going to be comments or a big roller coaster fan more than I am. It's going to be like, listen, bud, you really went off on that ride. It's not that bad. I refuse to believe you. Because you're just Six Flags PR. That's got to be the only explanation someone likes this ride. Oh my lord. It hurt so bad. It's still stuck around with me. I haven't ridden this in 10 years. It's actually, Jonathan, maybe I should send you this picture to put somewhere on this video. But there's a picture of me and my mom outside the ride, thumbs up, looking so excited. There's a picture of us thumbs up in front of that ride, but that's because it was closed. We're like, oh good, no harm will befall of people today.
Okay, so, you know, I wholeheartedly agree with your opinion, especially when it was Ninja. I have ridden it as Blue Hawk. I can testify to the fact that it is an improvement. Having the new trains with new wheels does in fact help. It's still not great, but it is certainly not the disaster that was Ninja. But that is purely my opinion. I do not want to derail this hilarious train of hatred for this ride because I 100% believe in its original incarnation that it deserved it. And I also believe that the military would be much better suited to any other attraction to honor them.
Why would the military want the Goliath?
But, you know, and this might be a hot take, but I'd rather re-ride Blue Hawk than Great American Scream Machine. That's my hot take. They're both bad.
Well, Jonathan, I think you're owed a rant for this last one, and I'm not going to stop you. Even though I'm probably going to disagree with a lot of it. Maybe, who knows? But Jonathan, the floor is yours.
My number one attraction, and this is in the correct spot, is Fast and Furious Supercharged. There is very little redeeming about this ride. I know we've talked a lot on the channel about pacing. This ride fails on every level at pacing. The pacing is a snail. The snail is literal. It is there. You are feeling the snail as you ride the attraction. That is how slow it is. Imagine a movie that is 45 minutes of expositional dialogue with questionable ad-libbing from the actors who are given poor direction. The setting changes from a questionably decorated warehouse room to a questionably decorated warehouse room. And then you listen to Turn Down for What, which was probably where all the money for this attraction went as you're boarding. Then you get on a party bus for the ride titled, let me remind you, it's called Fast and Furious Supercharged. Not even Fast and Furious Supercharged, right? So this has got to go fast, right? Well, the first trick that the ride pulls is making you think that you're moving while you're sitting still. Whoa! That's what I wanted from a Fast and Furious ride. And The Rock is holding a gun and telling me that we're going to be okay. Whoa! That's just what I wanted. And then you get to the next pre-show, which you just sit in your party bus, and you watch on a amusement screen that looks like it has been abused. You watch a scene that is questionable in every sense of the word, as parents are trying to explain to their children what these scantily clad women are doing, being escorted out of the party by the police, at which point a white police officer tells a person of color to get on the ground, and that was found problematic, so they just dubbed it over without reshooting it. You know, so that's pretty neat. It's pretty nifty. In the meantime, oh, did I mention at this point you've been asked to turn your cell phone off hundreds of times? Oh, but wait, there's also a game in the queue that requires you to use your phone. Yeah, there is. But their major plot point is that you can't use your cell phones. So what happens? How does this all pay off? Well, one of the characters Guess what? He uses his cell phone. And one of the other characters, I don't care to know their names, is like, yeah, why'd you use the cell phone? And he's like, I had to make a call with my girlfriend. And that's where the plot really kicks off, because after that you get a immersion effect that makes Harry, Ron, and Hermione look like the resurrection of Christ in comparison. And then the party buses pull forward into a motion simulator chamber with footage designed to be shown in 3D, that is in 2D. And as you know, footage mastered for 3D will have objects of different sizes. So in this version of the ride film, as you're driving through this city, which I'm pretty self-assured is not San Francisco as it was outside. Um, Dom, I think is the character's name, is as large as a helicopter. He literally could be the same size as the helicopter. So he's riding a baby helicopter, or he's massive. He went to the gym, but I certainly didn't get that from any of the pre-shows. That would be important exposition. But the fight continues on both sides. You're assaulted with water. As you thought the Voyage of the Little Mermaid was bad. No, there are more effects here in a ride where no actual water is ever featured on screen than there is for a ride in which you go underneath the ocean. Yes, you will get water in your mouth, 100% guaranteed, by riding this attraction. Oh, but that's not all, because there's also steam. Yeah, there's plenty of steam. Anytime anything explodes or breaks, steam. That's the first thing that you think of. Not debris, not fire, steam. Because steam, that's just everywhere. So after this mildly entertaining excursion for about 45 seconds, you crash into a parking garage as you hear party music play. And then the entire crew of the ride, who, was just on screen, has now set up their camera for a perfect pose to tell us all goodbye. It's like nice, camera's on the ground. It's like looking up at all of them, and they're like, hey, thanks for joining us. I'm like, when did you have time to set up this camera? Why is the lighting so good? Why are you not addressing us over like Zoom? How did this happen in the 5 seconds that we didn't see each other after we crashed? It's very problematic. And then we're invited to a party, which party, of course, means the gift shop, where you can take pictures with a wax figure of Dominic Toretto. And you can take pictures with some cool cars that, unlike Disney, you can't even get in them because Universal doesn't want to pay to maintain it. And what did we lose to this attraction? Another amazing attraction with The Rock in a much better role. A museum projection of Christopher Walken that actually interacted with physical sets and started a fake fire. And we are moving on.
Honestly, I think you like it. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. I know we've made jokes before, but like family forever. We did so earlier in this episode. So when it was closing down for potentially forever, but probably temporary, and not being temporary, in 2020, I wrote it alone. It was a miserable experience, the ride portion. Then I wrote it with our friend Landon right after, which I didn't want to do, but I was going to join my friend because no one should do this alone. And I liked it a little bit better. So for me, this is a ride that's done best with friends, done best with family, as suggested by the series. And I actually think the big failure of this ride is that it tries to be too faithful to the movies, not to the idea of the movies, but to what the movies think they are, big family epic sagas. And so they really push home the point that it's about family, and like you have to have all these characters. And so they try to do the kind of things that they do with like Kong and Harry Potter, and like try to make it an immersive story. But these movies have never been about story. They're soap operas. So like a lot of the time is spent on story, but no one goes for the story. People go for the action and the ridiculousness. And there's not ridiculousness, there's not action, but it keeps the spirit of the movie's themes. And I think that's kind of where the failure was. I will defend it in one point for you though, like, because I do agree with a lot of what you're saying. It's not good in its current form. Maybe when it opens again, which should be actually right now when you're listening to this episode, they've improved it in a significant way by some miracle in 4 days. we'll see. But I do like the pre-show scenes, the 2 pre-show scenes. Probably too many for the pacing of the ride, as you were saying, because the whole experience feels like a lot of pre-show scenes, 2 pre-show scenes in the queue. Then there's the boarding area, which takes a while, and then you get a pre-show scene with The Rock on a camera, and the pre-show scene with Vin Diesel and the family at a party. A pre-party, I guess. And as John Mulaney said, bad things happen when you're going to be a secondary location. So yeah, there's all those pre-show scenes going into what we consider the ride experience, and I think the actors do a good job there because they never once is the crowd into it, and the actors, they understand this, and so they actively undermine actually some of the pre-show footage, which makes it a lot of fun because they all understand what kind of ride they're in at this point, and that's fun, I think, but maybe not worth a 45-minute wait. And I can totally understand why you wouldn't ever want to ride this again. I will ride it again though, so if you're with me, you'll have to suck it up.
This is true.
Do you think there's a value to having what we consider like bad attractions? I know we talked about like their individual value, but just like as a whole, do you think there's like any value in having these less than attractive attractions?
Yeah, they take people away from the big attractions. They prey on unsuspecting tourists, and that means less people in line for my favorite ride. So absolutely.
I don't know where I was going with that question, honestly. I wrote it down. I thought something would come, but I don't know if anything's coming. This has already been a long show.
I mean, hey, if the families are in Voyage of the Little Mermaid instead of in line for Slinky Dog Dash, all the better. I mean, that is Slinky Dog trash, but that's for another day.
All right. Well, I'm just going to wrap the show up now. Though, before we do that, I want to thank a special group of people, our patrons, Landon Kanoki and Chandler DeRoche. Thank you for your support. Our Patreon, right now, we're not collecting money at this point. We'll let you know when we reopen the Patreon. But as of now, Landon Kanoki and Chandler DeRoche, you're still our patrons and our friends. Thank you for listening to the Theme Park Workshop podcast. This episode has been edited and produced by Adam Johnson, who you can follow at AdamJ_film on Twitter and Letterboxd. This episode has been co-hosted and co-created by Jonathan Edward, who you can follow at Wesley As You Wish on Twitter and Edward Jonathan on Instagram. Apologies to Balthazar Banshee, we ran out of time, but you can follow that little twerp at Disney Banshee on Twitter. Remember to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, follow us wherever you get your podcasts at, and of course, subscribe, hit the bell, comment, do what you will on YouTube at Theme Park Workshop. But our most important thanks goes to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.